how all of this momentum was building to try to do something about Chinese hacking. And it all came to a crescendo right before the meeting between Presidents Obama and Xi. And then 2 days before that meeting, Snowden's documents dropped. And the entire argument for this whole thing fell, just collapsed. And it's not going to come back as far as I'm concerned. We're never going to have some type of coalition of the willing victims come forward and put pressure on the Chinese government, because they're just going to turn around and say, you spy on each other, you spy on us, don't lecture us on doing that sort of thing.
What I'll say is that I'm not a proponent, as you saw in the movie, about going and attacking the adversaries who are attacking us and stealing from us. I'm a proponent of fixing the security issue. When I began my career more than 30 years ago, we had mainframes, dumb terminals, and no internet. It was very safe computing. Client server, should be computing, extremely insecure. What I think we needed to have is a core internet network. Companies aren't doing this. Most companies aren't at the moment. Or where your key intellectual property and things that make you successful is not accessible to the internet. Period. But this goes against the grain. Companies are opening up, bringing your own device to work. My gosh, might as well have a digital red carpet to the bad guys and let them in, because that's right up their alley for their attack model. Send an email to an employee. Now you have an employee whose smartphone's been broken, then the bad guy send an email, and it looks like it's internal. It's going to be more trusted. They take advantage of trust, social engineering that's going on here, really. And people are going to click and they're going to get infected. So they're going to break the inside. So just like in our U.S. government, we have NIPRNet, CIPRNet. I think we need the same thing in these companies. You need to have a core internet network that is secured, where your technology is not accessible to the internet, because those links, those firewalls, they're going to, like you said, it's going to go right over them. They're going to go right through them. We have to change the model. I think that we need better defenses, and there might be other mechanisms too for defenses.
Yeah, I'm sympathetic to that, Brian, but I also disagree slightly, because there's two factors that will always mitigate against that. One is the human factor. All you need is one Ed Snowden, and all of a sudden your defenses go down anyway. The other thing is that we're not going to do away with the internet. We're not going to do away with the kind of mass connectivity that we have right now. I think it's become too embedded, too ingrained in our economic system, too much of kind of a factor of production. And there's always going to be incentive to do that. So the more we talk about isolating networks, the more we'll actually create incentive to do things like RF-based attacks to create code effects, which is the sort of next frontier of hacking, where I don't actually have to be connected to a device, but I use radio frequency as a way of being able to create code on machines that I can't reach. So those things will always change. But I look at it at a slightly different level. That rather than trying to sort of put a Band-Aid on a trauma wound, which is what I think a lot of security paradigm currently is, I sort of take more of an ecological view. There are things that we can do in the network at scale that I can actually provide upstream security, that can do away with a lot of the very basic capabilities that most malware, most espionage actually uses at the moment. There may be 50 ways to leave your lover, but the reality is that there's only probably about 6 really good ways to hack into most systems, and there's dirty secrets in terms of how these systems actually work, peeking out. So I think that ecological approach could work. Now, where does government come in? Well, let me go back to what I said earlier. The place where the virtual aspects of cyberspace and the physical infrastructure come together are where? At the telcos. Telcos still are the most regulated industry that we have besides banking. That's where the government actually has a big footprint in terms of determining what goes on in that industry. We have not touched the Telecommunications Act in terms of incentivizing telcos to become cognizant and providers of security on networks. In fact, perversely, we have taken that ability away from them. I think that's where, through incentive and regulation, we can start taking back security aspects of cyberspace.
One small comment. Not to be mistaken, I'm not saying take away the internet from employees. I think you can have the same model you have now. What I'm proposing, though, is that you have a core internet network where your real secrets that make you successful, whatever it might be, is secure. That's what I'm proposing. So I'm not saying take away the internet, because employees obviously want to use it. We're not going to go backwards.
The internet is not going to be taken from the clutches of my 3-year-old, that's for sure.
Okay, we're going to go to, please ask your question.